It's Monday, September 25. In the headlines, Health Ministry declares a dengue outbreak. In business news, we feature this week's Young Boss, plus your usual market updates. Regionally, Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown rallies Global South to action. Internationally, state of emergency at U.S.-Mexico border. And in sports, Guyana Amazon Warriors are crowned champions of the Caribbean Premier League 2023. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. This week is Tourism Awareness Week 2023. From September 24 to September 29, the Tourism Ministry will be hosting several activities guided by the United Nations World Tourism Organization's theme for World Tourism Day 2023, Tourism and Green Investments. This week's key activities includes a Thanksgiving church service marking the beginning of the week. That took place at Montego Bay New Testament Church of God on Sunday. On Monday, September 25, 2023, there will be a tree planting exercise at Excelsior High School in Kingston. On Wednesday, September 27, 2023, World Tourism Day Youth Forum will happen at 9 a.m. at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James. You can check the ministry's website for more information. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has declared a dengue outbreak in Jamaica based on the increasing number of cases. This means the country has seen an increase in the number of cases compared to what is normally seen during these months of the year. As at Friday, the Health Ministry says Jamaica had recorded 565 suspected, presumed, and confirmed cases of dengue, 78 of which were confirmed, and the majority seen at St. Catherine, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. According to the Mayo Clinic, mild dengue fever causes a high fever and flu-like symptoms. The severe form of dengue fever, also called dengue hemorrhagic fever, can cause serious bleeding, a sudden drop in blood pressure, and death. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is warning that the current dengue outbreak could continue into next year. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is advising members of the public to cooperate with vector control workers and community health aides who will be fogging communities and searching for mosquito breeding sites. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton says the Cuban eye care program has been restarted in Jamaica with several changes. The program sees the undertaking of cataract and other eye surgeries by Cuban specialists. Speaking at a recent press conference, Dr. Tufton explained that the program had been suspended during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I had visited Cuba, I think late last year, it was, where discussions took place around the program and other things, and a decision was taken that we would engage and make some adjustments to the program.
He says 9 members of the program arrived in July and are already providing their service.
And are presently working out of the Kingston Public Hospital. The rest of the 18-member team is on standby to come to Jamaica in between October and November.
He says clients who were on the list before the shutdown are being contacted.
Some 6,450 clients have been assessed thus far, and 5,863 have been deemed to be still in need of surgery. Clients are also being screened at KPH for procedures to address the backlog of surgeries there. They are seeing and treating, this is the Cuban team, clients who are on a waiting list for cataract surgeries, diabetic retinopathy, and the other word which I can't pronounce, pterygiums, right? Yeah, great.
According to the health minister, 528 patients have been screened. 155 are preparing for cataract surgery. 132 have been screened for diabetic retinotherapy, and 180 laser treatments have been done. He says 10 pterygium surgeries have been completed. Dr. Tufton explains that with the adjustments to the program, Jamaica will provide some of the source materials.
And what we expect or anticipate is that there'll be a sort of improved throughput in terms of treatment. Additionally, we're advancing moving the operations of the program to the St. Joseph's Hospital, and have embarked upon a refurbishing of that space, expected to be completed by November 1, 2023, and will include both clinical space for pre- and post-operative care. The operating theatre space will be ready for use by the end of this month.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says cooperation between the country's major national security bodies have borne fruit, with several seizures and arrests being recorded since the start of the year. He shared the information while delivering the main address at the recently concluded 37th International Drug Enforcement Conference in Jamaica.
As a result of Jamaica taking this approach, to date, for 2023, some 7,762 kilograms of ganja have been seized at our southwestern border. Since the start of this year, there have been 2 seizures of methylene dioxymethamphetamines originating from the US and the Netherlands.
The Prime Minister says the production and trafficking of synthetic drugs like Molly have risen significantly in Jamaica.
These drugs are often manufactured in clandestine labs, making them more challenging to detect and eliminate. While synthetic drugs are not the dominant modality in Jamaica, we are paying close attention, special attention to this, noting the trend as pointed out by the administrator of the DEA. This trend that is growing in North America, specifically in the United States.
Mr. Holness says the security forces remain vigilant and the government remains committed to the fight against illegal drugs and criminal activities. Time now for the Business Report with Danita Rodney.
Welcome to the Business Report. I'm Danita Rodney. This week's young boss is an up-and-coming DJ. He is the soca advocate. He's DJ Kevy.
I am Kevon Reynolds, go by the stage name DJ Kevy. I am my business, of course, and basically just a disc jock, playing music, editing music, and also in the field of radio presentation. So what inspired me to become a DJ was basically a genuine love for music and being able to put music together in a way that makes people enjoy themselves. 2014 was when I started DJing while still in high school at Wolmer's Boys. The point where I decided that I should profit from the skill is when people started to basically compare me to the professionals, so to say, being heard on the radio at bigger events. So I said, all right, let's do this. I don't specialize in any certain type of event. I mean, I saw a spike during the carnival season where a lot of soca events came up, but I am a multi-genre DJ, an open format DJ, so I play different events, several types. For the promoters that have employed DJ Kevy, they have been pleased. I am hearing no complaints. Some have even been surprised. It would have seemed as if they have underestimated me a bit, so they are surprised when they see me execute. We have seen it for years now where many people have frowned upon businesses that tend to stem from the creative field. So DJing being one of that, I have received somewhat of a lashback from people saying this is, as they would say, just a hustle, just a hobby. But for me, all I have to say to them is I am offering a valuable service. I am being paid for such a valuable service, so it serves as a business. All right, so fear and doubt is inevitable, especially if you're a person who is progressing. New challenges will bring some level of fear and doubt. How do I deal with fear and doubt? Basically, I look and say to myself, all right, what is the gut feeling? What should I do? And from the moment you decide what that gut feeling is saying, just stop thinking about it. The less you think about it, the less the fear will take a toll on you. Just execute. All right, so studying full-time and basically working in the nightlife. In order to manage and keep up to date with the studies, first and foremost, live good with your classmates. They can help you to keep things in check. And also, don't procrastinate. You get a certain project, let's say it's a group project, do your part from early. Do not hesitate, because that free night you have 2 weeks from now that you put to do the project last minute might just be taken up by a booking, so just work from early. That's how I deal with it. For those wishing to start their own business, go into their own personal venture, I say to you, be passionate about what you do firstly. There must be a love for it. Secondly, consistency and professionalism is key. Find out what is a professional standard, aim to achieve it, and it will pay off. Well, now you can find me on social media, DJ_KEVI_JA. Of course, if you want to speak official business, you can reach out to djkevibookings@gmail.com.
Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Friday, September 22, the US dollar sold for an average of $155.41. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $115.99. The pound sterling traded for $190.43, and the euro sold for $167.42. In GSE trading, the GSE index advanced by over 876 points. The junior market index advanced by over 5 points. The combined market index advanced by over 869 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by over 1,768 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 102 stocks, of which 45 advanced, 38 declined, and 19 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, and Access Financial Services Limited. Stocks declined for Berger Pings Jamaica Limited, Cargo Handlers Limited, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Carreras Limited, and Apple Limited 7.75% preference shares. The overall volume leaders were One Great Studio Company Limited, Derrimon Trading Company Limited, and Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with over 1 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, Calypso Macro Index Fund posted a volume of 11 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Goddard Enterprises Limited was the sole security trading over 2,000 shares. In regional business, in Trinidad and Tobago, Minister of Finance Cole Imbert says he expects online sales using foreign exchange to reach $2 billion by the end of 2023.
Sales by all commercial banks of foreign exchange using credit cards in Trinidad and Tobago for overseas transactions reached close to US $6 million a day in September 2023, with Republic Bank being responsible for a significant percentage of these sales. The revelation from Minister of Finance Colm Imbert in response to the recent decision of Republic Bank to reduce credit card limits from US $10,000 to US $5,000, a matter which Minister Imbert says he was not involved with in any way, as the Minister of Finance does not interfere with the day-to-day operations and internal decisions of TNT's commercial banks. The Finance Minister also says at the rate of credit card usage that has been recorded up to the end of August 2023, it is estimated that credit card sales using foreign exchange will reach US $2 billion in 2023, a figure which is 45% higher than the pre-COVID levels of US $1.38 billion in credit card sales using foreign exchange in 2019. The Minister of Finance says as a first step to alleviate the situation, a request was made to the central bank to inject a further US $50 million into the banking system on a one-off basis. That is in addition to the usual fortnightly injection, which was done on Wednesday, September 19, 2023. Minister Imbert says with the Christmas and Carnival seasons approaching and the expected further surge in demand for Forex, the Ministry of Finance will make appropriate interventions as and when required. Karen Cozier-Phillip, TTT News.
In international business, Wall Street seesawed to a lower close, with the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq registering their largest Friday-to-Friday percentage drops since March.
The Dow shed 0.3%, the S&P 500 lost 0.2%, and the Nasdaq dipped marginally. The Fed this week let its key interest rates stand, but it updated its projections to suggest that restrictive monetary policy will remain in place longer than previously anticipated. On Friday, Fed Governor Michelle Bowman supported the hawkish sentiment by saying the central bank should, quote, raise rates further and hold them at a restrictive level for some time to bring inflation down to the Fed's 2% target.
That has ramifications, particularly for growth equities, but really for the entire global economy.
William Fitzpatrick is Managing Director and Portfolio Manager at Logan Capital Management.
And I think the realization that's hit this week is really what's starting to weigh on investors and why we're seeing the weakness, certainly week to date.
In company news, shares of Ford gained about 2% after the striking United Auto Workers Union reported progress in talks with the automaker. Shares of Activision Blizzard added nearly 2% after Microsoft's restructured $69 billion deal to buy the gaming company appeared closer to being approved by British regulators. And shares of Alibaba jumped 5% after Bloomberg reported the company's logistics arm Cainiao was planning to file for a Hong Kong IPO as soon as next week.
In market data for oil prices held steady after Russia relaxed its fuel ban, taking the edge off earlier gains on a tighter supply outlook and wariness over interest rates that could curb demand. Brent crude futures were up 27 cents at $93.54 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude was up 24 cents at $90.27. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown says countries must insist on the Climate Change Loss and Damage Fund being brought into operation at the upcoming COP28 summit in Dubai. Prime Minister Brown was addressing the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, where he also called for countries of the global south to cooperate in tackling the grave challenges confronting them. Garfield Burford reports.
A united front can compel the global community to sit up, to listen, and to act. The developing world must build that unity of purpose, not in confrontation, but in collaboration, not in division, but in cooperation.
A call from Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Honorable Gaston Brown to countries of the global south to act together as they face a perfect storm of global crises, including overwhelming debts and climate disasters. And he said Antigua and Barbuda has led by example on this by building alliances with the willing to counter these crippling threats. One such measure is through his move in 2021 to jointly establish the Commission of Small Island States on Climate Change and International Law, COSIS. COSIS has brought a landmark case to the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, ITLAS, seeking an advisory opinion on the obligations of states to protect the world's oceans.
SIDS cannot sit idly while our countries sink beneath our feet or are crippled by a burden of debt as we are left abandoned by the international system to rebuild within our own limited means, one disaster after another. However, taking the case to ITLAS is not an initiative just for the survival of SIDS. It is a vital effort for the preservation and prosperity of all nations in our shared world.
As he outlined the gravity of the climate risk, the Prime Minister called for urgent action and made it clear the upcoming COP28 summit in Dubai must result in action.
Now, we must insist at COP28 that the Loss and Damage Fund must be made operational and adequately funded. So it must provide adequate financing to help SIDS withstand the inevitable ruin that the actions of the major polluters are continuing to wreak.
Responding to climate disasters has also been a challenge for small, vulnerable states, and the Prime Minister says Antigua and Barbuda has been championing the push for a multidimensional vulnerability index, or MVI. This is expected to provide a fairer way of assessing a country's eligibility for concessional financing such as grants and low-cost loans, instead of the reliance on the current per capita gross domestic product, or GDP. Prime Minister Brown emphasized the importance of the MVI and called for all nations to support it.
Mr. President, we intend to continue to advance these contentions in the international financial institutions. Particularly, we will raise this urgent issue at the joint meeting of the IMF and World Bank in Marrakesh next month. We call on all SIDS and all fair-minded countries to join us in advancing the MVI as a vital component in facilitating access to concessional financing.
Barbados is poised to enjoy a significant jump in cruise arrivals this coming winter tourism season. That is because the island's cruise tourism numbers for the new season are projected to come very close to the year when the highest ever number of arrivals was recorded.
The tourism minister says the island has been able to continuously build relationships with cruise operators over the years, and the projected results for the coming season are just some of the results of those efforts.
This coming winter season, 2023-24, it is projected that Barbados will receive 396 cruise calls with an estimated 722,000 passengers, up from last year's 358 calls with 608,583 passengers, an increase of 38 ship calls and 106,556 passengers. When compared against this country's best performing season in cruise history, 2018-19, with 384 calls and 726,028 passengers, the projected 722,000 passengers for this winter season will result in a 99% recovery rate for the cruise sector.
The minister adds Barbados continues to be a top destination for European and UK cruise lines, and the news is timely, especially against the background of the island's overall cruise strategy, which is already in motion.
We have made a number of enhancements to our cruise ports, making it more efficient, visitor-friendly, and technologically savvy. This supports our goal of growing cruise business over the next 5 years. A 7-year cruise growth strategy is being finalized. This growth strategy will allow us to realize incremental growth through pre- and post-cruise stays and increase visitor spend on island. Furthermore, the air and seaports and the BTMI have been engaged in customer service improvement strategies and training to improve both ports of entry to maintain our guest satisfaction.
And the minister says plans are already in motion for the 2024 tourism campaign. World Tourism Day will be officially celebrated on Wednesday, September 27th.
In international news, nearly 9,000 people from Mexico have arrived in the United States in just 24 hours, leading to the border city of Eagle Pass in the state of Texas now being declared a state of emergency. Al Jazeera's Heidi Zoe Castro reports.
This family, with a toddler and an infant, is stranded on a small island in the middle of the Rio Grande River. Mexico is behind them. The United States is ahead, but there's a problem. The water ahead gets deeper, and 2 children recently drowned here. The family is frightened. They turn around. Back at the island, the toddler plays as the father considers his options. The arrival of more migrants emboldens him. There may be safety in numbers, more hands to catch small ones if they're swept away. And all together, they cross.
¿Para qué arriesgar los niños?
Why put children through this, I ask? For their futures, they answer. This is the scene on repeat in Eagle Pass, Texas, the town experiencing a surge of unauthorized border crossings, numbering up to the thousands daily. U.S. Border Patrol boats buzz the water, mostly observing the crossings, only intervening when someone's life may be at risk. This family has a disabled child who is struggling. A Border Patrol boat takes them to safety. Everyone else confronts the next barrier, layers and layers of razor wire put here by the state of Texas. Washington has sued the state to remove the fencing due to humanitarian concerns.
The Border Patrol is actually cutting through this wire because as you see, there are asylum seekers, there's families there who are baking underneath the sun and trying, desperately begging to be allowed the rest of the way up. They're already standing on U.S. soil. They have a legitimate right to claim asylum here in this country.
The fence is meant to be a deterrent, to force the asylum seekers to turn around even now, but they don't. These men say they're from Venezuela, fleeing political violence and an economy in shambles.
We are so tired, but our goal was to reach the United States, because this is the land of opportunity.
What's behind them can only be worse than what they're facing. And what they're facing is, 5 rows of concertina wire piled higher than their heads and, armed guardsmen with weapons.
But many of these tired faces wear smiles. This was a good day to have reached U.S. soil. That's despite the difficult asylum process ahead with little chances of success. This woman tells her daughter to say she's a warrior. I am, the girl answers. Heidi Zoe Castro, Al Jazeera, Eagle Pass, Texas.
In sports, Guyana Amazon Warriors were on Sunday night crowned the champions of the Caribbean Premier League for the first time as they defeated Trinbago Knight Riders by 9 wickets in the final. The hosts lifted the trophy before thousands of ecstatic fans on home soil following a comprehensive victory by 9 wickets at a packed and colorful national stadium. CWI President Dr. Kishore Shallow is impressed by the performance of players overall. He says the 2024 Cricket World Cup will be a boon for the sport and region as a whole.
It's a great opportunity for the region. The last World Cup, just to put this into perspective, the last World Cup in Australia, you had like 1,500 jobs being created, over $365 million US dollars, in terms of economic impact. That is what this means to the region. This is going to be the biggest World Cup event ever, 20 teams, right? And of course, we have thousands of fans coming to the Caribbean to witness this.
Dr. Shallow says CPL 2023 has been a stellar endorsement of the region's ability to host world-class events.
What West Indies cricket is about, for all of us who have been following West Indies cricket for years, when you look at the crowd and you feel it, you have to be here. It's hard to explain this energy, this atmosphere, but I can say that this is really where we want to be in our cricket. This 11 years into our partnership with CPL, and it could only get better. We're going to be putting on a spectacle for the entire world. And again, it's great opportunities for all the stakeholders in not only West Indies cricket, but global cricket as well. And I could only see the sport growing even more after this World Cup next year.
And that's it for the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.